What's up, Johnny? How you doing down there, my man? But not the smartest guys in the room. We're going to talk about confidence. We're going to talk about threads. We're going to talk about business. Hey, what's going on, Kim? Tom, are you ever going to change your profile picture, or did you just determine that it's perfect the way it is?
I mean, until I have a better one, I don't know. Like, why change it? I don't know. When was the last time you changed yours?
Not that, I had this picture of me in a suit, and I used it for years, and I didn't love it. Like all of a sudden I'm just looking at it one day and it wasn't me. And so that's when I really started changing pictures. But for the most part, I figured, like the other day I was on a call with somebody and we did a Zoom, and like you have a frozen background on your Zoom, like it's a still picture of me, a photo. And then all of a sudden, like I turned my camera on, and the person I was having the meeting with said, "Whoa," she said, "You look exactly like you do in the picture." And I'm like, yeah, shouldn't I? Or would it be weird if I didn't? So yeah, I just want to be representative of who I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Like, I guess the question is, like, I know a lot of people like change their profile pictures frequently on things, and I guess the question I would always ask is why, right? Like, if it serves a purpose, great, right? If there's reasoning behind it, if it serves a purpose, like you're talking about, you felt like it didn't look like you anymore, right? Or it wasn't, representative of what you look like right now because it was an older picture or whatever the case may be. Totally get it, right? But if it's like just cause, like, oh, I got bored of it and I changed it, like, I don't feel like that's a good reason to change it. You know what I mean? Like, or somebody said I should. It's like, okay, but why? Why? Right? Like, I always default back to being that annoying kid that I was to my parents and asking why about everything, right? Like, why? I just want to know why. What's the reason? There's got to be a reason. If there isn't a reason, then what are you doing? Right? Just throwing things at the wall?
Yeah, odd subject to start with, but hey, John Jay, do you ever feel the need? This is not where we're going at all today. We're going to talk about confidence. We're going to talk about threads. We're going to talk about some business. What are you winning at? But we started off some reason with profile pictures. So, John Jay, you ever feel like I need to change my profile picture? You're like, screw it, I don't care. I'm going to leave it the same till I'm 102. He says 102.
I'm of the mindset kind of like Tom. If there's not a good reason for me to do it, I'm going to leave it because it's not about me. Here, for example, I want people to see the same thing. I had to make some slight tweaks to the name of my show, rebranding. Other than that, I'm not changing it because I'm trying to build some continuity. And I'll be honest with you, at this stage of my life, I just don't really care how I look. If I'm concentrating on how I look, then chances are I'm missing the picture, which is always my consumer.
That makes perfect sense to me. You're always on message with that. I mean, John's one of the guys that, it's always about the consumer. It's never about him. And I believe that, man. And it's as authentic as can be, like where you say, like, some people, they posted that picture of them looking a certain way so that, or with their cat or next to the Lamborghini or whatever, just to get some more likes or something. But that leads me to, and this was a good segue, that leads me to Tom running without his shirt on the other day and doing a video. And so, Tom, give us your thoughts. We'll weigh in on this, just in general. Go putting yourself out there.
So I had a feeling that's where the confidence topic was coming from. I had a sneaking suspicion. I kind of knew too when I posted it yesterday. I was like, this is for sure going to come up tomorrow. on the show. So, yeah, you know, man, I think I got to a point where I'm 44, and I shouldn't be embarrassed. I shouldn't be self-conscious about being, outside exercising, running without a shirt on, right? It's a very common thing in the summer. It genuinely makes me feel better in terms of I feel cooler when I'm running without a shirt on. I don't like obviously I don't think anybody really likes the sensation of like the sweat soaked shirt like sticking to you. That's not a pleasurable sort of experience for probably anyone. I mean, who knows? Like, to each their own. I don't want to yuck anybody else's yum. If that's your thing, great. It's not mine. So I don't love having that, the shirt kind of stuck to me. And I feel better. Now, it's funny because I actually did a little digging around, and there is no research to support that it actually does make you cooler temperature-wise. It does not affect your core temperature. In fact, if you're in a hot climate with a lot of sun and you wear a white shirt, you're actually going to stay cooler than you would if you're shirtless, so long as it's the right kind of fabric and it's, wicking fabric and all that kind of good stuff. But I just feel better, right? It's incredibly humid where I live. It's crazy hot out right now when I'm out running, and I just don't want to be uncomfortable, right? But the flip side of that is 44 years old. I don't remember ever not being self-conscious about having my shirt off in public, right? Like literally, I don't think there was ever a time when I wasn't kind of self-conscious about it. Maybe when I was a little kid, when I was on a swim team. But even then, I sort of remember being a little self-conscious. Like I would always leave my shirt on until I had to take it off to get in the water, like that kind of stuff, right? I was never the kid with the shirt on in the pool, but it was always like on till the last second, and then like on again as soon as I could get it on after I got out of the water, kind of thing. And so yeah, I was never confident. I shopped in the Husky section when I was a kid, right? I was a bigger kid. I've been overweight to some extent, never massively overweight, but at my heaviest as an adult, I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. I was about 220 right now. I'm about 180. So I've always been self-conscious, and I just kind of, I talk about, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, getting yourself comfortable, being uncomfortable, and I thought maybe I should take some of my own advice. And so I decided to, like with everything else, I don't do anything halfway, right? Because I'm a lunatic. So instead of just running without a shirt on, I was like, I'm going to run without a shirt on, and then I'm going to make a video and put it on the internet talking about running without my shirt on, And, the flip side of that is then there's no escaping from it, right? You can't put that genie back in the bottle, right? Like you cannot close that box. Once it's open, it's open. So yeah, it made me really uncomfortable. But the reactions that I've gotten have been, tremendously positive, supportive, encouraging, all of those great things. I think I should feel good about who I am. I put a lot of work into exercising and working out. I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't do like anything really to like kind of for body image or body shape, because that's not my thing. Like I exercise for performance above everything else. Right. But yeah, I put a lot of effort into exercising, and like, if I feel better and I'm going to get better outcomes out of my workouts by taking my shirt off, then I'm going to take my shirt off. And I guess the people who live near me are just going to have to deal with seeing me run without a shirt on. So.
Hey. No, I saw you. I saw you out there running, and I'm the same way, man. Like if I'm gonna, no matter how I looked, if I'm gonna take my shirt off in public, man, I would be doing push-ups first. I'd be not eating for 3 days first, and even once I did it, I'd be like, where's the towel? What's the angle? So like, but then like you're saying, sometimes it's so hot. But why I wanted to talk about this is confidence in general. What is it that leads somebody down a path where they are not confident, why they're not confident in their podcast, why they're not confident in their story, why they're not confident in starting a business. And then what is the moment where you say, F it, I'm taking my shirt off. I'm going. What's the moment? The F it moment. The I'm taking my shirt off moment. How do we get everybody in this room to that, like in their business, in their life, whatever the thing they want? So what do you got?
I mean, I think honestly that for me, that tipping point is when my discomfort with not achieving the goal is greater than my discomfort holding me back from achieving the goal, right? So like when that shifts, so when I'm more uncomfortable not performing well, you know, on my run or something like that, or not feeling good on my run and not feeling like I got good work or good training or good benefit from it, versus I'm uncomfortable taking my shirt off, when that seesaw, that balance shifts, then that's when I think, like, you know, you can start to overcome those things. I mean, man, we could spend weeks trying to dig in to like what gets people to that place, but I think it's a variety of things. I think it's, you know, I think it's social pressure, it's peer pressure, it's and then I think those two things compounded by kind of self-doubt, right, and negative kind of self-talk are ultimately kind of what leads us down that path of not being comfortable with those things. But like, it's funny because I'm around a lot of runners and people who do endurance sports, and I see people who are in worse shape than I am, right? Who objectively have more extra pounds than I do, right? Absolutely 100% comfortable taking their shirt off and running, right? And I look at them and I go, man, how did they do that, right? And I realize that at a certain point you just go, F it, I don't care, right? And I think that quote from Eleanor Roosevelt kind of summed it up well. And it was, you know, you wouldn't care so much about what others think about you if you realized how seldom they do, right? People don't think about you as much as you think they do. You think about you much more than anybody else does. So that's what you think is ultimately the most important thing. Other people probably aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are. Don't flatter yourself. None of us are that exciting.
You got a fire heart from Heather on that. Okay, so we're coming. John, weigh in on that. Then we're going to go to Tristan and producer Jimmy. We want to know, how do you get some confidence? How do you overcome? John, how do you get the confidence to approach one more radio station? How do you get the confidence to get on the air? How do you get the confidence to start something? Go on, my friend.
First of all, it's for me, and a lot of what Tom said is spot on. It's a process, and it began for me years ago in my 30s, when I began to really realize that I can't pay my bills with other people's opinion of me. I began to make big changes, and it wasn't a competition. And I had to eliminate things like "why me" from my thinking and replace it with "why not me." Am I the most confident person in the world? Absolutely not. Am I egotistical? Absolutely not. Am I antagonistic? By the way, I say it because I'm happily married and I have a wife who will gladly keep me in line whenever I need it, which is quite often. So there are checks and balances. But the thing is, I'm not in competition with anybody else except me. And the measure is sometimes unrealistic, and I have to become more realistic. So if all of a sudden a radio station says 3 radio stations add my show this week, great, because there are plenty of weeks where none do. I cannot place my opinion of me based on what someone else does. That's the thing. When I stop putting value on my accomplishments based on what someone else does that's beyond my control, totally beyond my control, I start to live freer and happier. So I don't know that I'm more confident. I just think I'm freer of fear and constantly criticizing myself and just moving forward, doing what fits and learning. Sometimes what I do doesn't work. So learn and try something different. And don't be afraid to reach out to other people to help you in your journey. So that's my lesson on that.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. recently I did this anything that floats. I don't know if you guys might have seen it. Me and Buddy build a boat, and you build a vessel, we'll call it, and we had to float down the river. And so, like, I didn't even think I was going to get wet, and we actually sunk in about 2 minutes. There had to be like a river rescue for my buddy to pull the boat out. The bike, I don't know why, but we mounted bikes to the top of our boat. One of them fell off, went down the river, and we filmed the whole thing. Our thing is show must go on. Even if you fell, show's going on, you know? And so people come up to me now and they're laughing about the show and can't believe you did it. Or then other people come up and they're like, you're so brave. Can't believe you did. Can't believe you air that. Can't believe you put that out there. I'm like, brave? What the hell are you talking about? You know, I never thought that somebody would think me and my buddy goofing around in a dirty river was brave. But I guess but to me, it's just putting yourself out there. It's going for it, stepping out of your comfort zone, and who knows what may happen. Tristan, what are your thoughts on all this? Your thoughts on confidence? If you want to talk threads, we'll talk threads too. Been 2 weeks. What's it been? 2 weeks? Is thread is it growing? Is it done? I see that the active users are down 50 million or something like that. So Tristan, man, confidence, threads, or talk about taking your shirt off, whatever you want, my man. You got it.
Yeah, I'm still puzzling what the act of taking your shirt off is for podcasting. What's the I can't quite find. Is it feeling more comfortable? Is it feeling more natural? I'm not one for taking my shirt off.
No, man.
Until I get to the outdoor pool or the beach and realize I should have taken my shirt off more. So maybe that's what the act is for me. I should have taken off more so that I don't look like a fool when I get to the beach and I've got tanned arms and that's it.
No, the answer here is it's a metaphor. So what is the point in podcasting where you say, F it? This is the thing I haven't done. I'm not all in yet. I got
that. I was just trying to find the metaphor of where does it connect with me? Because I'm not sure that I'm not a Twitch streamer who has my my top off while I'm streaming, so I don't know that it quite literally translates. I need to find the other translation. No. To go back to it and maybe a little bit, it's not quite the same as John often talks about with the way he uses social media, but I think I definitely discovered that, and I think it shows up on here. It always disappoints me when people are talking about on here, and I feel it's very close to podcasting in that same way of, when will the algorithm find me? When will the audience find me? It's a one-to-one business. It's a go out and talk to people. It's find those connections and work out how you get in front of people, how you invite people to come to your show, or make it easy or worthwhile anyone else inviting one extra person. So it's that taking it one at a time and saying, how can we grow by having something valuable and making it easy and sensible to share. So that's probably where it comes to for me.
Tristan, good stuff, man. Do you have a show? What is it? Let's hear the name.
My show is called the Cliff Notes Podcast. I talk to manufacturing leaders. So we talk about the business of manufacturing. So making physical goods, mostly.
Business of manufacturing. Okay, interesting. So now we're dig in on this. So are you in manufacturing yourself?
No, so I'm an agency. So I make digital products, digital applications, and help them bridge that sort of digital divide and move towards this sort of. I don't want to go down a tangent for that. Move towards that space that allows them to connect with that. And so some of these conversations are learning from those case studies of those journeys along the way, helping it sound more interesting, sound more comfortable for other people. While we're building them applications or websites or whatever that piece is. So it's sort of lead generation, I guess, for my business is the angle. But good conversations and good people on the show.
That's good stuff. That's what I wanted to know. At its root, is there somewhere you're going? Is it for because you're in that business and it gets you to? It's a networking tool and things like that. And so I get it. Okay, keep up the good work then, man. And we'll try to get some more information for you here. Producer Jimmy, you hear the conversation. I'm not going to repeat it as I don't want to sound creepy here, but we're talking threads. We're talking confidence. Tom wanted to talk business opportunity. I wanted to talk about things you're winning at, maybe tips that 7 months in, something you're winning at that you wouldn't mind sharing. Producer Jimmy, what do you got for us?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I just want to apologize in advance for disappearing at the top of the hour. I have a room to open up, but wow, when it comes to this, actually, what I had in mind to share encompasses really everything you just said, Dom. So some of you know that I have had some imposter syndrome like crazy creep up on me here and there. And it's something that I've been dealing with. But the way that I found is the best way for me to deal with it is a few different things that I want to recommend for people in order to kick out the imposter syndrome and regain your confidence. One, really, really good record keeping. And what I mean by that is make sure that you keep track of every single win, all the accomplishments, every step along the way, everything that you've done, just keep track of it somehow. So whether that's in a journal that you can flip back to, or it's posting something online. I know some people use their Facebook for that kind of thing. They keep it private, maybe those posts, but it's something there. For me, I tend to put the posts, like create a blog post on my website because I dig SEO, so it's another bonus for it. But good record keeping, because to be able to just look back when you're denying yourself and denying your own capabilities, if you can look back at the evidence, you can't deny it anymore. And so it pushes the imposter syndrome and naysayer voices right down. And another thing, aside from the good record keeping, to do is to also celebrate your accomplishments. And so, not just to keep track of them, but celebrate them, honor them, put up a post, do something on social media, buy yourself something nice, like whatever it is. Be kind to yourself when you have an accomplishment. Number one, just to treat yourself and honor yourself, but also number two, to more solidify it as a memory, so that you can recall that more easily in moments of self-doubt. And also celebrate your influence, that you've had an impact that you've had on other people. So if you've managed to make a change and difference in someone else's life, help someone else towards their goal, when they reach that accomplishment, celebrate it with them. And so I'll just share a recent win of mine that reminded me about all of these things, because it reminded me that I need to stop. There's no room in my life for imposter syndrome anymore. There's no room for it. I have accomplished things that any podcast producer, any entrepreneur, any single mom should be extraordinarily proud of, and I'm not going to deny that anymore. And so I went up to Chicago at the end of last week to celebrate with one of my clients. They're celebrating their 300,000th download. They had a big party, but it's also a celebration of the network that they've built through the podcast and all these things. And they've had a party at other milestone moments throughout the years, and I haven't been able to make it for one reason or another. And this year it was I had to go, and I'm so glad I did, because once I was in that room and really seeing the impact that I made, the evidence was in front of my eyes and I can't deny it anymore. And the confidence boost that gives me and that gave me, I'm carrying that forward in everything I'm doing for building, the Power Moms Network and having these conversations. I am not saying, please join the network. I'm saying you need to join this network because I'm at the helm of it. I know what I'm doing and I'm creating something big, and you want to be a part of it because the proof is in the pudding. I'm saying that with much more confidence, not arrogance, but confidence that I can pull off any goal that I put in front of myself, because I've collected the evidence and I'm not denying it for myself anymore. So I want to encourage everybody else to try to adopt that similar mindset, because it is a game changer. Thank you, Dom.
Producer Jimmy, you're on fire. I'm feeling it. Hey, so on a day, let's say I have a day where things are going bad, and like I'm having that doubt, or I'm feeling I can't do. What do you do right then? Are you saying look at the accomplishments? Are you saying watch a video in that moment? How do you get through it?
Yes, 1000% yes. Or, well, actually, I'll stay on this for a second. Yes, because that's exactly what I've done. It's kind of the flip side of another piece of advice that I give people when you're trying to attain a goal and you're feeling like you can't, to have a list of all the reasons why you want to attain it, because nobody can can remind yourself of why you're going for something better than you can. Similarly, no one can remind yourself of how much you've already done better than you can. So flip back to wherever you've been keeping those records and just remind yourself. So that's the number one thing I would do. The number two thing I would do, which I've done with a couple of people, someone who just popped out, hopefully he'll be back, but a couple of people in this room, I've reached out even in tears and just said, please, I need help. Like, knock this out of me. So reach out to the people who love you and who support you and who can remind you when you can't, who can remind you of how badass you are.
Thank you. Love it. That's special. Hey, Tom, did you want to weigh in on that at all? The confidence there?
I mean, look, I unfortunately I was out of the room when Jimmy started talking because I had to run out and grab something to drink real quick. But I think you're absolutely right. I think reminding yourself that you have done in the past, right? That you have overcome things in the past, that you have achieved in the past is a great way to remember that you can do it again, right? In some way, shape, or form, we've done most of the things that we are afraid of doing. We've done some version of them in the past or some part of them in the past, right? So I think it's a great lesson to remind yourself, right? You may not have accomplished a particular goal before, right? But you've accomplished parts of that goal likely, right? In your life leading up to that point. So like remind yourself that like, okay, I haven't done this whole thing, but I've done 2/3 of it before, right? So it's not, I don't have to climb the whole mountain all over again. I just have to climb the last bit, right? I just have to go a little bit further up than I have before, but I've gone most of the way, right? So I think it's a great lesson to just remind yourself that like, yes, I can do because I have done, and just keep pushing forward with that in mind. But yeah, I think it's a great lesson, and that idea of keeping records, of past accomplishments, I think is a great way to do that.
See you, Producer Jimmy, and good luck in your room. Producer Jimmy said she got a room started at the top of the hour. We love Producer Jimmy anytime she stops by. Okay, we got a question here. I'm looking at the comments. I'm going to read them. So we just have, it says, April had a question. How do you deal with an unstable person trying to defame you on social media? Okay, so let's see here. John J, Tom, you got any, has that ever happened where somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. What do you do?
Here's an old quote, and I'm going to butcher it. It's from Mark Twain. Never argue with stupid people. They'll just beat you with experience and they'll drag your level and beat you with years of experience. So on social media, I do not engage with negative troll people. I just hide them. It's not worth my time. What it does, it takes me off my game, which is always moving forward, and it moves me to where they want to go. So I just don't do it. People can defame all they want. And the reality is there's a lot of sick people in the world. When I engage them out of anger, this is just for me, not for anybody else. When I engage them out of anger, I could be contributing to their illness. I do not want to do that. But for me, for purposes of growth, it does me no good whatsoever to engage and take my eye off my goal and focus on what they want to talk about. None whatsoever. So I don't do it.
Good stuff, John. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, I mean, I'm 100% on board with John. I think that's great advice to not engage with them. And I love that Mark Twain quote. I've heard that one before, and I think you paraphrased it well. But yeah, I 100% agree. And like to that point yesterday when I posted the video that we were talking about on LinkedIn, I shared that video on LinkedIn. I shared a video of myself talking about being comfortable or being uncomfortable without a shirt on in public, shirtless on LinkedIn. And I knew when I posted that video that there were going to be people who saw that video and they were like, that's not what LinkedIn's for, right? I knew it was going to happen. So what did I do? I just sort of preempted it with, I know there are going to be people on LinkedIn who say this is not appropriate for LinkedIn. And to you, I say, scroll on, my friend, right? Like, I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to argue with you about whether or not it's appropriate. I didn't put it there for you if you don't think it's appropriate, right? I didn't share it with you if you didn't think it's appropriate. And I think to April and her husband, Chris, who are old friends of mine, I've known for years. They're great people. Chris is, they have a great business. They're up in Maine. They work with dogs and helping owners with dogs who have behavior issues, right? So dog training business, although that's a real oversimplification of what they do. They really help people communicate more better with their pets, right? With their dogs in particular. And at the end of the day, they've attracted a fair number of haters because Chris is like not shy about his opinions on the sort of general state of dog training, right? And I think that's fine. At the end of the day, I think, to April asking this question, if people are believing what this person is saying about Chris or about their methodologies or about the business, if people are siding with this person who's defaming them or allegedly defaming them over working with Chris or working with their business, then I would say they were probably never going to be a client to begin with. And if they were going to try to become a client, they were probably a client that you didn't really want, right? So like, if there is any loss of business from this person sort of defaming, unless it's, if they're just, criticizing Chris's methodologies or, saying he's doing things wrong or whatever the case may be, I would say if the people that go with them, let them go, right? Like, they're not your audience. They're not your customers. They're not your community. They're not the people that were going to be part of your community regardless. So like, you can't keep them happy and you drive yourself nuts trying. And to John's point, never engage in an argument with an idiot. So if somebody is, going to go online and spread malicious stuff, I always kind of think of them as the way you would treat any other bully, and you just don't engage, right? You just don't engage. Scroll on by, my friend. Scroll on by. So yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think, Tom?
Good stuff. A lot of time I mute, I hide, I snooze. Sometimes if I do respond, it is more, I'll go the complete 180 and, hey, thank you for your input. Appreciate you reaching out. I'm sorry you feel that way. If I ever come across you, I would love to buy you a cup of coffee and shake your hand for sharing your opinion with me. Like, I'll go outwardly another direction with it. So I'm in both of those pools. I will try to, but like then to John's point, well, I am engaging, but I try to, my engagement is the complete opposite. I'm going to go so kind that I didn't even hear and so yeah, that's what I think. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. We got Prof T in the hizzy. Prof T, we're talking confidence. We want to know what you're winning at. Tom was going to talk about business opportunities later, but go on, Prof T. What are you winning at? How do we get confident?
Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I love this because I actually just posted something on LinkedIn this morning about struggling with fear or faith, poverty or prosperity. So I believe that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's a quote by Henry Ford. So in other words, whatever you think about, I do believe you can bring about. So confidence for me is just keep going at it. I believe that I think somebody was on, Jamie's not here, but she was talking about imposter syndrome. And I struggled with that for years. I never even knew what it really was. But I realized that it's a mindset. So I just find myself when I have bad days, which we all will, when we are feeling a little bit low on the confidence level, when our tank is getting low, that's when we start to veer off into negative mindsets. And depending on, your early influences in your life, which I wrote a book about, it can affect you well into your adult years. So what I learned is, number one, just, get real, be real. You got to be real, like Tom did yesterday, being real. Do you? I always say this to my clients, do you, boo? And secondly, release the negativity and replace it. Look for positive people, places, and things, as John Jay was saying, scroll on, keep going, don't engage, because I find that hurt people lashing out. Oh boy, I remember the days when I used to do that. And then number 3, invest in yourself. It's important to invest in yourself, in your mental health, in your physical health, in your finances, in your relationships. Invest in yourself and then invest in others. Always pay it forward and bring people with you on your journey to success, so that when they are on their journey to success, they will bring you with them. And then finally, develop the discipline. It's all about discipline, as you know, Dominic, and Tom, all of the folks on the stage. So as far as confidence level, I don't think we're always going to get it all right, and we're never going to get it all done. But as long as each day we put our head on the pillow and we feel that we've done our best and we've made a difference in someone's lives, or we did a little bit better than we did the day before, knowing that we're going to do a little bit better the day after. Thank you. This is a great conversation. Love you guys. Prof T from Philly. Have a blessed day.
Prof T, you're the best. And that reminder, all your points are spot on. The one that hit home with me is that hurting people hurt people. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and that's something that we talk about a lot, whether it's how she's treating people, and I think she's a nice girl, or how she's being treated. I just remind her constantly, when somebody says something, Maddie, hurting people hurt people. Remember, hurting people hurt people. Just to know that, like, what if we could almost feel bad for that other person? Sometimes I've not evolved that much as a person that I can feel bad for everybody that's talking crap or something like that. But sometimes I do. You almost say, wow, sorry they feel that way. I'm sorry they're hurting like that. So, all right, not the smartest guys in the room. What Tom's smiling. I just like to see Tom smile. What are you smiling about, Tom?
Oh, I don't know. I just I something you said, and I can't even rephrase it, but something you said just made me chuckle. So
hey, if we talk an hour and a half, a lot of times, so that means we've been not the smartest guys in the room, an hour and a half times a year. I mean, there's a lot of. I was listening to that AI stuff today, like where they can now they can take your voice and AI it and AI a conversation. I mean, everybody's going to be getting calls from Tom because he's been on Clubhouse for a year and a half, talking for an hour and a half. I mean, you probably said every word. They could call everybody and AI your voice.
Yeah, they probably could. I mean, somebody could read, could generate copies of everybody's voices, right? But yeah, I mean, that's part of the issue. It's one of the reasons why there's some of these lawsuits that are going on right now. Sarah Silverman's involved in one, trying to stop I think ChatGPT from some of their data scraping practices, because you want to try to put some guardrails around what data they're allowed these regenerative AI programs are allowed to scrape and pull into their learning model and then regurgitate in a different format. Because at the end of the day, you end up recreating copyrighted works, right? Yeah, I mean, I'd be upset. I mean, they could probably generate an entire episode of this without either one of us. If you plugged it in to the right algorithm, you could generate both of our voices, have us say whatever you wanted, and generate a conversation. If you fed them all these episodes, AI would spit out an episode that roughly approximated what we generally talk about. It probably wouldn't make any sense because AI is actually not intelligent, but we've talked about that before. It doesn't approach anything close to generalized intelligence. It's really good autocorrect is essentially what it is. But yeah, it could spit out something that approximated this and actually make it sound like us. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why SAG-AFTRA went on strike. I don't know, like for anybody who's been paying attention to that, one of the things that they objected to in the contract, and that the studios were trying to push through, and the producers were trying to push through, was they wanted to be able to scan. This is for background actors in particular. They wanted to be able to scan the face of a background actor and then reuse their likeness in perpetuity across all media without having to pay them. So you get paid for 1 day of work as a background actor, right? And you've been a background actor. So you get paid you get paid for 1 day of work to go in, and then they can reuse your likeness. They never have to pay again for the rest of time, and they can reuse your likeness wherever, whenever they want. So yeah, I don't know, just something to think about, something to something to consider. But it's I think it's concerning that was a sticking point in the negotiations. Anyway, I got off topic, but
no, that was a good one. I'm glad we went down that way. So, okay, so first, you had a little static there just for a second, Tom. It's coming and going, not much though. So Heather had a question. Wait, so Heather Devine had a question, and then we are going to go to Heather Cox. So Heather Devine, did you have a question? Go on.
Hi. Well, I was gonna wait for PTR order because I'm driving my son.
I never know. So
summer camp.
Okay, then wait for PTR order. That's good. That's good etiquette there. Thank you. So really, in this room, like unless somebody's like, sometimes people are an expert on whatever subject we're talking on, so they might flash from time to time. And I'm like, oh, well, let's have them talk. Like John about radio. Like it would make sense if John wants to talk about radio. No matter what the order is. Heather Cox, we were talking about AI. We're talking about confidence. We're talking about threads, half the users. We're talking about what are you winning at? We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about Tom shirtless, but that was part of confidence. So Heather Cox is one of my favorite threaders right now. I'm all about it. So Heather, what do you got going on?
Aw, thanks, Dom. I appreciate that, man. There's so much that we could talk about in regards to AI and threads and social media and, I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Okay, give us a talk about, then here's what I want from you. Let's talk confidence. How at that moment where where the world's shit around you, let's talk, I'm going to speak bluntly here. Sometimes everything goes wrong. Sometimes the business you're in, you're like, what the F am I doing in this business? Sometimes customers are mad at you, your car breaks down, your computer goes down, you lose your files, and you're like, what is going on here? How do you stay confident, Heather? What do you got?
Okay, so I think I've said this before. I'm very confident in my business. I'm very confident in my skills. And I told this to my mom the other day. I was like, look, I'm very confident in my job, in my business, in what I do. I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My mom is an entrepreneur. Both of my sisters are an entrepreneur. My dad's included in my mom's business. I was literally raised as an entrepreneur. I have zero effing confidence when it comes to my personal life. And that's what I struggle with, is the confidence in my relationships, not business relationships, because I rock at that shit. I don't know why, but like, I'm really good at that. But like my personal relationships, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to like crash and burn. I'm waiting for someone to screw me over. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop and something bad is going to happen in my personal life. So, and that's from years and years and years and years of trauma within my personal life. So I'm super confident in my business. Like I literally, like if you and I try to talk in a personal setting about like my life and my kids and whatever, like I clam up. But if we're talking business and we're talking websites and business strategy and marketing and what, like I I knock it out of the park every time. And I know that may be a little conceited, but at the same time, I have zero confidence in my personal life, and I'm working on that right now. And I think that's, Dom, why I'm using Threads the way I am, to try to just be more myself over there and be more personable, and kind of like maybe open the box to who Heather Cox is on the personal level. And like I have 3 kids, I have 2 dogs, I have a cat, I have an ex-husband who has a new girlfriend who has a new baby, and I have my husband's ex-wife, and it's just like it's so much. I have so much shit in my personal life that my confidence sucks. Totally sucks. And so I think that talking with you guys, being on Threads, being more open, I think is giving me more confidence in my personal life to be like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to put energy into this one-sided relationship anymore. I'm going to match people's energy that they bring to me in my personal life. And if you're going to treat me like shit, well, guess what? I'm bringing that energy to you, my guy. So, I just appreciate these rooms because I feel like I'm becoming more confident in my personal life and being able to talk about it more without being scared of the repercussions, because I still deal with the person who gave me all these trauma responses and triggers, and it's difficult to talk about, especially when I'm still dealing with it, and I will continue to deal with it until my daughter is 18, so, and probably past that, you know what I mean? So I just appreciate these rooms, and I really appreciate you, Dom. Thank you. And you, Tom, thank you guys so much for allowing me to have a space where I'm able to just like word vomit on y'all in regards to like my personal life and confidence and all that fun jazz. So I appreciate y'all.
I mean, first of all, Heather, just have to say how much Dom and I appreciate, one, you being here every week and being a part of this community, and 2, how much we appreciate you saying that. I mean, that literally, if having that kind of positive impact on one person makes all of the time we spend doing this, like Dom said, hour to an hour and a half every Wednesday, or hour and a half to 2 hours, actually, generally, right? Hour and a half to 2 hours every Wednesday for like over a year, hours and hours and hours of our time, like just to know that, it's this space that we've created with you guys has benefited just one person is makes it all worth it. So thank you so much for saying that. Really, I can't even tell you how much that means to me and how much we appreciate that. The other thing, as you were talking, I just wanted to say this is I found it really interesting that you said that you're incredibly confident as an entrepreneur and in business, and I see that like in your what I see from you on LinkedIn, and obviously in your presence on stage. So obviously, you deserve to have that confidence, right? Because of what you've accomplished in business. The thing, and you said you're starting to be better about, your confidence in your personal life. The thing I want to try to like push you to do is to try to not differentiate between who you are in business and who you are outside of business, because you're the same person. That confident person that exists in your entrepreneurial life, in your business life, is the exact same person that exists after 5 o'clock at home with your kids, with your dogs and your cat, right? It's the exact same person. So we have this like, culturally, there's this idea that we should sort of be one person professionally and another person privately or personally. I think that's bullshit. I'm the same person all day, every day. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to try to pretend to be somebody else when I'm working versus pretending to be or being somebody else when I'm at home with my wife or with friends. So I just think that whole like personal life, professional life, like personal, persona, professional persona is bullshit. Do you have different guardrails around how you behave in different social situations? Absolutely, right? Like different expectations in different situations? Absolutely. but fundamentally, you're always you, right? I am always who I am fundamentally. And you ask anybody who knows me socially and professionally, they'll tell you what you see is what you get, right? I don't bullshit. I don't sugarcoat. I don't try to pretend to be anybody I'm not. So I always encourage people to stop doing that. And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that I think the way you talked about it made me think. I just wanted to say out loud, and I hope that it helps to remember in your personal life, you are the same person that is confident professionally, that is a high achieving entrepreneur. When you go home at the end of the day, that's still who you are. You are still confident. You are still high achieving, and you are worthy of that confidence. So that's all I wanted to say. But thank you so much for being here, Heather. Always a pleasure to have you in the room.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Heather. And Heather, I would just piggyback on that and say, in that moment, like producer Jimmy was just in here and she was saying that she goes back, she looks at benchmarks, she looks at metrics, she looks at past accomplishments. I would say in that moment, when you're in that situation at home and like you're starting to feel yourself going down that rabbit hole, just say, I am a bad bitch, and just 1 minute, just remember that. And maybe just because you're going to know that you're going down that path. And if you could remember that for 1 second, just to change when whoever is treating you a certain way, or you got some negative mojo coming your way, you're above that. And just think that that'd be a good name for a book. I wonder if that is a book. I'm a bad bitch. But anyway, okay. Not the smartest guys in the room.
Tom, are you saying you're a bad bitch?
I think I could say I'm a bad bitch. I think that would be all right.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Let's AI that. AI. That's what you don't even need the AI. You just have me saying it in every situation. So, okay, Johnny, what do you got for us, man? Are you a bad bitch?
The baddest on the planet, baby. So, this whole thing about confidence and self-esteem, and there's this truck in front of me. I don't know what in the world is going on. He needs confidence in his driving. But so I'm pretty confident in my abilities. As a performer, as an entertainer, as a broadcaster, as a professional magician. Look, I'm like the best magician I've ever seen. I have no problems having confidence in my abilities and my ability to entertain and to create great stories. The reviews bear that out. I post the 5-star reviews. I celebrate those on social media. And, the reviews bear out what I think about myself. However, I have loads of anxiety about people actually wanting to see what I have to offer and to listen to what I am producing and to buy tickets. I've got a show coming up this Saturday, world debut of a brand new show that is going to rock the world. But we're nowhere near selling the number of tickets that we need to. And I'm fighting the urge to just throw up my hands and cancel the whole thing. I'm not going to, because that's unprofessional unless there's illness involved. But golly, I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? And so I second guess my marketing and business acumen on a daily basis. And every day I want to ask someone, what am I not doing right? What am I doing wrong that I struggle to get people to hear my voice? At least that's my perception. So, that's my deal. That's my struggle. Does that make sense?
So let me see if I got you right here, Johnny, and if I don't, correct me by all means. But it seems like your question is like, how do I is that you struggle with being confident in your messaging. Is that right, in the way you're structuring your messaging or the way you're reaching out to people?
Well, no, just struggling in the confidence that people actually want to listen, watch, see, participate.
Gotcha. So I think, there's a couple of different ways to do that, or to deal with that. Like, off the top of my head, the first thing I would say is, in some of your messaging and outreach, I would say try to include opportunities for participation on behalf of the audience, right? So like, encourage them to comment, encourage them to ask a question in the content that they can answer in the comments, right? Things like that. Ask them to share, right? And see kind of what engagement you get. That's a way to maybe generate some metrics to see how well things are landing and whether or not it's resonating with your audience, is trying to engage them in action and conversation. And then the other thing I would say too is, like, how confident are you that you know your audience? Because at the end of the day, if you're confident that you know your audience, then I would rely on that, right? I would rely on that confidence. Like, no, I know who my audience is. I know who these people are. And I know that I'm delivering, to the best of my ability, something that is of value to them, right? And not everybody that you deliver content to, not everybody that you deliver something to is going to recognize or appreciate or accept that value. And there's nothing you can do about that, right? You can only, I say to people all the time, like, you can only control your actions, right? So control the controllables. If you believe that you're acting in the best interest of your community, and providing them with value, then I say keep going. Is that helpful at all? What do you think, Dom?
I want to know, Johnny, this is something. What is the magic market in Tennessee? Like, is it the same market that goes to a show at that palace, or is it a different percentage of the population, or is it a market that just likes entertainment and shows? Like, I'm wondering if Johnny was in New York City, like at any building, would he have, sellouts everywhere he went because the market's 10 times bigger? So I just wonder that, Johnny. So any thoughts on it? Me and Tom are doing a whole magic show ourselves. But hey, Johnny disappeared. Johnny,
he was having some connectivity issues, maybe. Johnny.
Yeah, I dropped off. All the sound dropped off, and
so Johnny, what I was asking is,
come back in.
What is the market like, the magic market like in Tennessee? Is it the same market that is doing the show? Like, is it the same market that would fill that concert venue when Poison comes into town, or is it a different market? Because I was saying, well, if you were in New York City, you'd probably sell out every night because there's 50 times more people. So that's my question. Is it not about you at all? You might be kicked. Let's say I am a publisher of books. So hear this out. I am a publisher of books. If my authors do not get out to new people, to new audience, they will sell to 10% of all the people they know. So if you knew 5,000 people, you'd sell 500 books. And actually, of that 500, maybe because only 10 to 20% of the population read, half of those people are reading books about sports, the other half are reading romance novels. So now you just cut your margins down again and again and again. So once they get out and meet new people, once they go new places, then their circle of influence gets a little bigger and they can make more sales. So in this case, I am just wondering, how many people have they seen your show before in that market? How many times have they seen your show? How much money? Because even if they love magic in that area, is that market big enough? That's my question.
Well, I live in Nashville, several million people, and nobody's seen this show yet. This is the world debut. Nobody's seen it. It's all brand new. But in this market, people do know me. I was, in residency at a place called House of Cards here in Nashville. 300 seats every night, sold out for the last 5 years. And I was there for 2 years. Let's see, 2021, 56 shows in 14 days with a company called Fever Up, and sold out. So I'm doing sold out gigs. I'm getting bookings. That's not the, that the history has been there. The question is, leading up to this right now, ticket sales are really not performing the way I should. It's kind of like the box office at in movie theaters right now. Everything is underperforming, and it's got me sweating a little bit because I've invested a lot of money. But do I know my audience? I think I do. I'm creating a non-toxic, family-friendly, all ages, immersive narrative, magic, and variety review that is all ages, no age restrictions, and that's a big deal here in Nashville, because in Nashville everything is 21 and up, so no age restrictions, no dress code, which is a big deal here in Nashville because places that you can see what I do require a dress code. So there's no dress code, no age restriction, family friendly, and free parking. Those are important things to my audience. So I don't know, but it's going to be awesome. We're going to film it. It's going to be one of the best shows I've ever done. I'm going to be super proud of it. I'm just worried that nobody's going to see it.
Hey, man, stay the course, and that's because you care. I mean, ultimately, you're doing good stuff. You care. You want it to be kick-ass. It's been kick-ass. You've been successful at it. So, yeah, I mean, of course, you're looking at every metric the whole way. You fill them out, so you know what it's like when how to pace, how you paced when you sold it out 300 times. But, so just keep kicking ass. You put on that good show. You make people smile. And like in this room, if we, you will sell out. But if you impact one life, you make one person smile. Hey, this guy last night for an hour and a half, he made us smile. Me and my wife were able to hold hands. Beautiful night, and you did good work, Johnny. So stay the course. How's that? Sometimes if we got to go motivational, we'll go motivational here. All right. Not the smartest guys in the room. We got Dr. Tachi in the house. Dr. Tachi, what's going on? Where do you want to weigh in on all this, Dr. Tachi?
Good morning. Gosh, there's so much to say.
Well, I'm wound up. Everybody's wound up. Next thing we'll start talking about fried chicken sandwiches, and everybody will be mad.
Here we go.
Yep.
Should I weigh in on the confidence thing?
Please. You seem to be beaming with confidence.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of that has to do with upbringing and the spaces that I've chosen to put myself around. And again, this is not everybody's portion in life to be able to have that. But I think, and I'll tell a quick story. I remember that somebody had something of mine. There was an editor that was supposed to edit one of our films that was going into a film festival, and hummed and hawed, and then finally decided that he couldn't do it. Well, you don't tell me that, and we're already over the fact. You should have said something before, and then had the film. So I said, oh, no problem. I'll just go to his job and get it. Because one thing you don't do is piss me off. I'll roll up to your job and get what I need. Otherwise, I'm a very nice person. So there was, my friend was here. We were both in the same doctoral program at Howard. And I was like, well, if you want to stay here, you can. No, I want to see the Nigerian mafia in action. I was like, let's roll then. Come on. So there was another one. My film partner did not grow up in spaces like Howard University really prepared us for that type of thing where you walk into a room and dare people to ask you why you're there. And so we already had that. She did not go through a program like that and did not have that upbringing. And she said to me after, she was like, I wish that I had that upbringing and that at least I had gone to a school like Howard where that was what they did. And so I really have to put any of the onus on the level of confidence I have on, of course, parents, and then putting myself in spaces where they demand that that's the way you behave. And it's not the easiest thing in the world for people to do, but when you, and I'll keep going back to Howard, when not only do they demand excellence, but they're there to support that excellence, that for me was all I needed. So it's not everybody's story, but for me, that's where that confidence comes from. And so when I approach things, it's from the standpoint of, I'm sorry, do you know who I am? And that's not being arrogant, but it's what's been instilled in me, if that makes sense.
Dr. Tachi, I absolutely love it. It reminds me of that story of Kid Rock before he had made it, where he gets enough money to sell out a show in Detroit. And like he hasn't like signed with a label or anything yet. And so he sells out like one of these marquee venues. His name's up on the jumbotron, whatever, the marquee, whatever you want to call it. And now all of a sudden, like the music industry gets wind that Kid Rock's up on that, he's selling out venues. And so they go to him and they go behind the scenes and they say, how much can we pay you to sign? How much? And he says, I want Michael Jackson effing money. And he knew he was a star long before anybody else did. And once his name was up in the marquee and in lights, and then they fell into place. So Dr. Tachi, if you don't have Howard or you don't have Kid Rock confidence, where do you go to get this kind of support?
That's an excellent question. So I think there are a number of different places. Rooms like this, Dominic, Tom, I don't think you understand how valuable room. Oh, you probably do. Let me not say it like that, but maybe you're not aware of how it affects all of us that come here every week. The level of support, the level of open, honest conversations we're able to have. So spaces like this are critically important in being able to get that type of confidence, because you have the support, and that leads to maybe working with other people, etc. So I think seeking out groups filled with individuals of where you want to be, and that doesn't just mean in terms of career or in terms of financial wise, but it could be emotional wise, health wise, etc. So supportive rooms filled with people of where you want to be, spaces, rooms, etc. So hopefully that answers.
Thanks for that, Dr. Tachi. Again, I mean, I can't stress how much that means. You saying that means to Dom and I, and how much we appreciate you being here every week. All of you guys that are here every week, we really appreciate you guys, and appreciate this community that has developed here, and value you guys just as much as you value being here. So really appreciate you saying that. And I think too, like to your point, Dr. Tachi, I think having places where you can go and get the support that you need, right? When you're lacking in a little self-confidence, that you can get that sort of boost from people you know and you like, right? And you trust and you're comfortable with. The other side of that too is I think it's important to have places where you can get honest feedback, right? That isn't meant to tear you down, that isn't negative, right? Where you can get honest, constructive feedback from people that's delivered in a way that it is honest and constructive, right? And that's something we always try to do here, right? Whenever we give feedback, when people ask questions, ask us for our thoughts on things, I know that we always try to be as constructive as possible so that we're providing, so that people are not only comfortable asking those kinds of questions, but also that we're actually providing value back to them and back to the folks that come here every week that are part of this community. So thanks for that. I wanted to shift gears just a little bit, real quick, because this is not the smartest guys in the room. I've got a theory, and I want to kind of lob it out there. It's actually maybe a little bit more than a theory. I'm going to sort of put it on record. This is what I believe is going to happen. And so I just kind of want to put it out there. There's a few folks in the room who are kind of in marketing communications, that I think are also going to have some thoughts, on this, but I think there's a tremendous business opportunity happening right now, that can't be ignored and shouldn't be ignored. And here's what it is. So it's Wednesday, July 19th, 2023, right? 10:41 a.m. And I'm going on the record, that there is a huge business opportunity as a result of the SAG-AFTRA WGA strikes, right? We haven't felt it yet because all of the sort of content that people are consuming right now was already, so to speak, in the can. It was already filmed. It was already edited. It was already sort of through post-production or mostly through post-production. So the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes haven't affected anything that we're consuming right now. We haven't felt the effects as consumers of content. We haven't felt the effects of that strike yet. But those effects are coming. There are going to be, at the very least, there are going to be big delays in production coming down the pike. And at a maximum, some shows and some sort of properties in terms of content that people like and appreciate and value and enjoy are going to go away. There are not going to be next seasons of some of the shows and some of the series that people like, and some projects are just not going to get made, right, as a result of this strike. I, for the record, also 100% support SAG-AFTRA and the WGA. I 100% support them. I am not at all on the side of the studios or the streamers or the producers in this argument. Here's the opportunity. We haven't felt those effects yet. There's also a shift towards branded entertainment content, right? That's happening. More and more brands are creating they're funding documentary programs, they're funding content series, things like that. It's happening already. I think right now the opportunity is massive for businesses to get in the business of creating content that their ideal audience values, right? So some former colleagues of mine, Al Roker's production company, they did a documentary with John Deere about farmers. It was specifically, the documentary was about Black farmers getting back land that had been taken away from their families unlawfully, right? And it was funded by John Deere, right? Their ideal audience are farmers, right? And they're trying to attract smaller scale farmers, family farmers. Like, that's their bread and butter, right? They sell a lot of equipment to factory farms, but they also sell a ton of equipment to families and people in local communities, people who have very small scale farms. And so they funded this documentary, right, that was produced by Al Roker's production company. That's one example. There's a million more of them, right? And it's becoming more and more prevalent. So I think if you're a business owner, the opportunity right now is bigger than ever and better than ever to get into the business of value-driven, whether that's entertainment, information, education, right? Value-driven content production for your community. Now is when you should be doing it, because you want to have something built, something created, something made when we start feeling the effects of the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes, right? You want to start now. Actually, you want to start a couple of months ago, but I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I've been pushing people to do this for over a year, but I think the writing is on the wall. Like, this is what, and the companies that are going to come out of this successfully are the ones that are starting or have already started production on some of these properties. So that's my 2 cents. I've thrown it out there. My advice, get in the business of content creation. that's value driven for your audience if you are a business owner. Now. Do it now.
Good stuff, Tom. Go on, Johnny.
Yeah. So, Tom is right on the money. I've been screaming this since the writer's strike started. The last time there was a writer's strike, what was it? 98, I believe. It was 6 months, and it delayed new projects for 2 to 3 years. Now we've got a writer's strike and an actor's strike with SAG-AFTRA. And the people that I'm talking to believe that this is going to drag on until after the first of the year. And that means there will be no new TV, no new movies for at least 2 to 3 years. Because, and this morning, Netflix announced that one of the movies that they had in development, they've already spent $30 million on a live action He-Man and the Masters in the Universe movie for Netflix. Because of the strike, they've just tanked the entire project. They just shelved the whole thing. They're going to take the $30 million loss, and they're not even going to pick it up as a future project for consideration. And that's going to happen, down the line over the next couple of weeks. We're just everything's going to be put on hold. So we are in a perfect position. If you're in live entertainment, podcasting, if you're an author, if you're, a YouTuber, we are in a perfect position to capitalize on this, because 6 months from now, people are looking around for new entertainment options. Where are they going to be looking? At what you have to offer.
I want to take this one step further too, and thanks so much for that, Johnny. Appreciate that, and thanks for your thoughts on that. I couldn't agree more. I want to take it one step further. If you are somebody who works for or works in communications alongside of a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 100 company, right? Companies that have 7-figure budgets for their marketing and communications. If you are somebody associated with one of those companies, here's what I would say. Go a step further. As a company, right, if you develop a strategy, if you develop a concept for a content series, don't be afraid to go the scripted route and reach out to the WGA and reach out to SAG-AFTRA and reach an agreement to work with them to create this content, right? Become the content creation studio, so to speak, right? Do the thing that the studios are unwilling to do right now. Sit down with SAG-AFTRA, sit down with the WGA, use some of your 7-figure budget in your marketing, 7, sometimes 8-figure budget, or 9-figure, right? Use some of that money to sit down with SAG-AFTRA, right? Sit down with WGA and work with them on terms that are acceptable to them, right? And do an end run around this blockade of the studios and create the content that they're refusing to create right now for the audience. I think that if you've got the funding to do that, that's a winning strategy, right? That is going to create a tremendous amount of opportunity for your business. If you've got the capital, right, to be able to do something like that, I think that could be a game changer for an organization. So that I just wanted to take it that one step further. Because like at the end of the day, the studios, the only reason any of this is happening, if you look at the SAG-AFTRA demands, if you look at the WGA demands, they're not unreasonable at all, right? The only reason this is happening is because the streamers and the studios don't want to share their profits with the people who create the content, right? Or the majority of the people who create the content. So yeah, I say do an end run around them, show them that they're not needed. It's like my first boss said to me years and years ago, my first boss in television said to me, never forget that everyone is replaceable. You're replaceable. I'm replaceable. Our boss is replaceable. everyone is replaceable. And guess who else is replaceable? Studios are replaceable. And I think big business, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies can fill that gap. And I think we can fill part of it too, for sure.
So, Tom, you are saying produce the whole thing and go around the studio. Create the content, produce it, and go around the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you've got the funding to be able to do it, right? Because the big issue is really the big thing that the studios bring to the table is capital funding and distribution, right? Those are the two big things. Well, guess what? Distribution isn't as limited as it used to be, right? Because you're not just limited to theaters. You're not just limited to broadcast television. The internet has democratized distribution. Why? I mean, look at there are stand-up comedians that are professionally filming stand-up specials and putting them out for free on YouTube right now, because not only do they make ad revenue off of that video on YouTube, so that starts to defray the cost, right, in the near term, but in the long term, they know they're going to more than make that money back, because that having that hour-long special out means they're always going to sell more tickets when they're on tour, right? And just like for musicians, the tickets, right? Ticket sales are really where the money is for these folks, right? So like the money is not in, like, just like in the music industry, the money is not in the record deal. The money is in the tour, right? So like same thing for comedians. It's the same reason why they're doing that, why they're giving away specials for free on YouTube, is because it makes a lot of financial sense if you're looking long term, if you're looking 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, down the line. It makes a lot of sense to shell out that cash up front for the return it'll bring you on down the line. And I think the same can be said for content production for businesses. It makes a ton of sense to shell out the cash now and do this end run around studios. Excuse me. Because in the long term, the benefits are going to far outweigh the costs. Far.
Beautiful, Tom. Thank you. My business belief has always been, for anybody here, give till it hurts, and then at some point you've given so much value that when you produce your show, write your book, you do whatever you're doing, that people say, wow, they've helped me so much, they've been so good to me, I have to support, I'm in. And so I hear what you're saying. Okay, Heather Devine, she waved like she had a question for you, Tom. So if not, then we'll talk confidence. Go on, Heather. What do you got?
Oh my goodness. Well, great conversation, you guys. And Tom, thank you for bringing this up. So this actually goes right into confidence, is what Tom was saying. I think, I'm just going to quote someone amazing. I got my start by giving myself a start. So if you don't know who that is, that's Madam C.J. Walker. She was the first African-American entrepreneur, and philanthropist, and activist. She was the first female self-made millionaire in America. So she believed in herself. She believed in her strengths. She believed in her tenacity and her own drive. And I think that confidence plays right into what you're saying, Tom, because we need to continue to storytell. We can't just hold our breath and wait until things are sorted. We have to continue to storytell. So to your point, Tom, about comedians and other entertainers, Joe Coy was rejected by Netflix. He's a stand-up comedian. He ended up having his own special, recording it, and then saying, this is worthy, this is gold, and Netflix bought it from him. And of course, he could have distributed it differently on his own. But when Netflix first saw it, they were like, oh my gosh, we want that. This is amazing. And he goes, I told you how amazing I am. And I think that the more that we step into our own strengths with confidence, better off that we are, stepping into the world, because we all have different strengths. Some of us are, in front of the mic, and some of us are behind the mic and speaking our truth, more forward facing, and others are a little bit more invisible, but all of it is important, which is which is what we're seeing play out right now. You know, we've got so many systems that need to be reimagined. And I think based on our ability to, you know, utilize this technology for our benefit and to, you know, stay curious, right? Like, what I wanted to say about confidence in my own life is I was always told that I wasn't intelligent, conventionally intelligent, because, you know, when you go to school and you get, hopefully you get good grades and you like can regurgitate everything you read out of books. That was never the way my brain worked. I was always considered the artsy one. I was always one that's like, I needed to draw, I needed to be able to see it. I'm very visual. So I naturally got into art school and excelled in creativity and animation and videos, and ended up getting into the web design industry, and then ended up in marketing. And all that being said, I realized, okay, all of these narratives that don't serve me, they're in the way of me shining, like, wholly and completely. um and it wasn't until, gosh, it's 2.5 years now that I started my own business, and I have never looked back and never been like, you know, yes, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, I should have done this sooner, but everything within time, you know, like, it's okay if you don't figure it out today. Maybe this is a seed that needs to be planted in you to like realize, okay, maybe I can try something different and get a little uncomfortable, and not knowing if it's going to succeed. You know, and you can tap into my profile and read more up on me. Like, I started a nonprofit 8 years ago. It originally was a grassroots movement, and it turned into a nonprofit, a 501c3. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, it's cool, and there's people that are constantly plugging into what we do, and that's like so cool. Like, I will tell you, we're all creators in this space. We, however we decide to step in, how we want to serve community, like, it's completely accessible. It's just a matter of realizing, hey, confidence is in there somewhere. You just got to peel back some of that stuff that just, those narratives that just don't serve you anymore. So that's my contribution for today. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate it.
Heather, beautiful words. Thank you for sharing. You, I told you about my daughter. I have a son. He's going to be a senior, and every once in a while over the years, he has said, "I'm a slow reader," and well, I'm just a slow reader. I'm a slow reader, and I'm like, I can't even, like, the negative that he's putting on himself hurts me. And I'm like, what is that? Like, in my house, my kids probably hate me because, you know, I'm always like, what do you mean? No, you're not. You're a reader. You're just saying that. You read fine. You read like anybody else. You read more. You know, it's not a matter. Maybe you're comprehending more. But to put those negative labels on anything we do, we're Jason 724. 724 is my area code. 772, the architect. So he talks about putting those negative labels on yourself. Sometimes we do it, you know, it's defense. Sometimes we do it as just to be funny and stuff. But go on, Jason. What do you want to add, my friend?
Well, there's a lot to add. I mean,
Go
there's
for
so
it.
many things that I heard. Like, number one, if you want confidence, narrow your focus. And the problem is, it's like, imagine going yourself to a restaurant and you got 6 pages of a menu to look at, right? You're overwhelmed in the experience. And that comes from experiencing me knowing the restaurant industry, because I worked as a waiter for 15 years before, you know, working in law. And what I always liked was the more I could give my customers a focus, a narrowed focus that I could read and see off of their optics, they had a better experience. They came back and they became a regular. And how I translate to what we do, it's like, how can I make a created custom experience to you to become a super fan to come back? So that's narrowing the focus. That's number one. And the way that I look at it, you know, look at it, life as if you were an immigrant. You got no backup plans. Not to add more pressure on yourself, confidence comes from a consistency of just doing work, you know, doing sometimes the same thing over and over to where you don't have to second look at you. It comes to you. That comes from experience. Your experience is your confidence. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to swallow. You know, they want to put it on all these reasons, just like you were saying, your boy's a slow reader. Okay, great. I'm glad you're a slow reader. So that means you're taking your time to comprehend something, right? So that, and then I would also
Yeah, and
revert
he
to,
said that, not me. I'm not saying I don't
right,
accept that. Yeah,
right,
go on.
right. You don't have to turn it into like a criticism to him. It's like, hey, great, that's awesome. You're a slow reader. So that means you're going to take your time. Because if you don't take your time to evaluate your decisions, someone else is making decisions for you. And the perfect example is the more you use too many apps to do for you, why do people need you? Why? Like I heard a creator tell me literally just the other day, I spent $60 on an app to help me create better threads. And then I challenged them. I said, okay, so could you take that $60 of an investment and make it an interest to turn it into $600 in 6 weeks? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, so know what you want to work with. I come in here because of your guys' show, because you're like-minded individuals who do things. I'm attracted to doers, not experts. I am a philosopher, but I'm a doer more than anything. So Epictetus would say, narrow the focus, narrow the wants, narrow down who you are. Because if you let your wants keep going out of hand, guess what? You'll never be satisfied and you'll keep wandering in the wrong places. And last point, what Tom was talking about earlier, I'm all up for SAG and the Writers Guild because what they want to do legally is all these AI softwares, imaging, filming, they want to take like extras out of future filming. Your likeness, your voice, you're going to sign away your rights of your person into the future? No, you don't get to do that. And that's why I'm skeptical about using like digital apps showing me look in a better filter or sharpen because I agree to use it for free. They get to keep my likeness. So that's where I'll end. But confidence, build it off of just doing. Stop worrying about what everyone else thinks. Just freaking do it. That's it.
That sounds like a Nike commercial. Just do it, man. Hey, and you're the big idea. Jason's got a clubhouse room, big idea. It's a great room. You got to get in it. I get in it anytime I can. So, Tom, what do you want to add there? Go on.
Oh no, I was just nodding to you, saying it sounds like a Nike commercial because it's because it said just do it. But no, I mean I agree with what what Jason had to say, and always appreciate him being here. Yeah, it's like I said, before, like this whole thing with the background actors. I mean, it's one of the same. The use of generative AI was also a sticking point in the WGA negotiations, also because essentially what the producers want to do, what the studios want to do, is they want to, rather than having to have a writer's room, they want to essentially use AI to draft scripts and then hire a writer for a set period of time and have them sort of quote unquote what's called punching up the script, right? So you go through the script and you make it a little funnier, you make the jokes hit a little bit better, you fix timing issues, things like that, right? But the beauty of it is that from the studio's perspective, this is why it's bad. But from the studio's perspective, what they were trying to capitalize on was using generative AI to draft the script in the first place meant that they could argue that that was not the intellectual property, right, or the work product of the writer, right? And so they wouldn't have to pay any residuals on that because it's not a work product of the writer. So they would not be liable for any residuals. They would basically pay the writer for a day rate for a couple of days, to punch up the script, and then that would be all it cost them, because they could use generative AI for free, essentially, or a very low cost by comparison to having a writer's room to generate these scripts. So that's like, those are the two specific things. So like on the SAG-AFTRA side, they wanted to use generative AI to scan actors' faces, background actors in particular, and then use those likenesses in perpetuity across all media. And that in perpetuity across all media is really important there, because what it means is that they could take that likeness and put it in a movie tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, and that actor wouldn't get paid a red cent for you using their likeness, right, or their performance that they had used in the motion capture. And then on the WGA side, they wanted to use generative AI to actually draft the scripts to take intellectual property rights and work product rights away from writers, so they didn't have to pay for writer rooms and they don't have to pay residuals on that work product. And so that's the thing that's really like those are the big sticking points on both sides. There's a whole bunch of other things in terms of like how much people get paid for residuals, what people get paid for days work, et cetera, that caused them to go to strike. But that's the AI side of it. But anyway, if you're a big business doing end run around the studios, you don't need them. Just make the content yourself and reap the benefits of providing that value to your audience. Just lead with that value, provide the entertainment value to your audience. That's all I got to say. Anyway, yeah. So back to you, Dom.
It's that simple, right? To go, well, you're killing Tom. We value your input and expertise on the subject. So, hey, speaking of which, it's that I didn't do this yet, so I got to pull out something that for anybody watching the live stream, something that makes me smile that I haven't shown you yet today. So every week we live stream this. Tom is technical, like we just learned, and he is able to live stream. Not the smartest guys in the room, on Facebook, on Twitch, on my accounts, on his accounts. Where else we at, Tom?
We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch. I don't think if Instagram or Threads changes, I don't know if Threads actually supports live streaming at all. If they do, I'll get us on there. And Instagram right now, the way they support live streaming isn't conducive to us live streaming on the platform. They want you to do it natively through the app. They don't have robust support systems for streaming from outside of the platform. So we use Restream Studio to actually create the live stream. That's how we get the image of the clubhouse room and Dom and I on screen all at the same time. And I've figured out how to get the audio working so we don't have crazy echoes and all sorts of weird stuff. And all of this is done really so that we can see a new tchotchke from Dom every week. So Dom, what do you got? What's your
this
scenario?
This makes me smile because I dropped my daughter off at lacrosse the other day, and in the field was a giant. She was at a different school, and there was a giant Mr. Potato Head. It was like bigger, larger than life. Like I'm talking like a 8-foot tall Mr. Potato Head, and it just made me smile. So that reminds me of my own Mr. Potato Head, that this is Spud wrapped in Steeler gear. So I walk down the steps to my office and I see Spud over there, and Spud makes me smile. Just more Steelers. That's what I got for you, Tom. And then on a separate note, and now you got me thinking of original movies and stuff like that. So this weekend I watched Breakfast at Tiffany's for the first time. And good movie, good. But last night I watched Pretty Woman. Me and my wife watch Pretty Woman. It's probably the 1,000th time I've watched Pretty Woman. I think Pretty Woman is the perfect movie written. It hits all the beats and everything like that. And so here's the question. Does the room think that Pretty Woman is a rom-com?
Yes.
Okay, I do too. Go on. Anybody else? Yes, no. Dr. Tachi likes Mr. Spud. Okay, there's Mr. Spud. Spud thinks it's a rom-com. And what's weird about Breakfast at Tiffany's really, and I'm a big believer like that all these projects parallel themselves in some way. Breakfast at Tiffany's is a lot like Pretty Woman. There's innuendo that she could be a lady of the night, her come to power and all this stuff. Yeah, very, very similar movies. So sorry for the sidebar.
No, Dominic.
What?
Pretty Woman is a lot like Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay, Johnny, you do agree that Audrey Hepburn, Julia Roberts, very, very similar there.
No.
And My Fair Lady.
I don't agree. I agree that Pretty Woman copied a format from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
That is fair. I accept that, but it's a different.
Breakfast at Tiffany's is the original source material.
So, but you agree they're similar. You say copied. Okay, go on. No, I'm just saying it's a good point. Go on.
I think story arc, right? There are a lot of parallels in the stories that are told in both of those movies. I mean, I would argue, when was Breakfast at Tiffany's made? In the 60s, I think.
It's probably 100 movies similar.
Still iconic though to this day, though, right?
There were probably lots of movies with a similar story arc, lots of films made before Breakfast at Tiffany's, and before that there were anecdotes, fables, written stories. No stories we tell are truly novel, right? I think the way we tell the stories, the context in which we convey the story arc is what's sort of novel. But at the end of the day, look, innovation is not about creating something out of whole cloth. It's about adapting existing things in a novel way. And I think that's what Pretty Woman did with the same kind of story arc that we saw in Breakfast at Tiffany's. But
go on. And Richard Gere is Gordon Gekko. He's Gordon Gekko in a rom-com. All right, let's go. We could talk about this all day. I'm going to California tomorrow, so you got a little more time with me, and then I'm out of here. So go on.
Where in California are you going?
I'm going to Los Angeles, man. I'm going to try to hit as many beaches as I can and as many tourist attractions as I can. And I'm going to show my kids all the stuff, and then I'm going to ride my bike. We're going to ride our bikes down the coast as far as we can go. And that's that. Yeah, man. So if you see me out there, wave. I know we'll take some selfies. Kevin. Okay, Kevin, there's a lot going on in this room today, as usual. So we got Kevin, Julie, and then Tom's going to wrap us up. What do you got, Kevin?
All right. The reason why I came on the stage was to address what Johnny was talking about a while ago. So one of the things that seems to be very prevalent whenever you share spaces with entrepreneurs is this idea that you have to be good at everything. And tying this into the topic of confidence, knowing what you're good at, also knowing what you're not good at, what isn't your wheelhouse. Now, you can choose to up your knowledge and your experience in other areas, but maybe that's not your choice. That's not what you actually want to do or partake in. And so I feel like with Johnny, you can be an amazing magician and you can put on an amazing show. Knowing how to do those things doesn't mean that you know how to get butts in the seats. And what about outsourcing someone else who's good at marketing? Someone who's a great architect may not be the person who's also a good realtor. I don't understand why when it comes to entrepreneurs, it's the idea that you have to be a good architect, you have to be a good builder, and you have to be a good realtor. Why? I don't understand why people think that. So when it comes to marketing, Johnny, you talked about how you do an amazing family show. Just some thoughts. What about reaching out to like family influencers in your local area, different mom groups that basically are looking for wholesome entertainment for their family? Sending some free tickets to people like that. And if there aren't enough butts in the seats, start honing your audience for the future. Reaching out to some Boy Scout groups or Girl Scout groups or kid groups and whatever tickets you're not able to sell, giving them to kids that have never seen a live magic show and sparking that curiosity and love of magic with them, the next generation, getting them excited, getting them to ask their parents to take them to your next show. So being a person who can create a great club doesn't mean that you can.
Yes, Kevin. I love all of these ideas, and it's amazing to me though that you heard in my statement that I haven't done all of these things.
No, I didn't say that you hadn't done all these things, but my point was the idea that you should have to do all of these things yourself because you're good at that one particular area. That's why I gave the example of somebody being a great architect doesn't necessarily mean that they're also a great house builder or that they would be a great realtor. You can have your focus in one particular place and be amazing at that. But as far as marketing that or pushing that out or these other examples of it, that may not be your wheelhouse. Also, somebody else might have the clarity of saying, somebody you think you know your audience, and you may know the audience, the people that are currently coming. But there might be someone else who has an eye going like, well, what about these other people? This is your current audience, but these are other people that should be in your audience that we need to put the focus on directing those people. I'm just saying it doesn't have to all be one thing. You can be a great podcaster and not be a great editor. And so you push that out and have someone else edit, and that basically your content gets out there, but you're not doing every single step of everything it takes for the whole. You can be a great pizza maker, but not be great at milling flour. Does that make any sense?
That's good stuff, Kevin, for all of us, not just Johnny. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I publish books. I suck at editing. I got 6 different editors. If you want, I barely know the difference between there, and there are, man. So what you're saying is all good stuff. Go on, Kevin.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that.
Go on,
Just
Jason.
think about this. No matter how much we know, it's never too late to go back to the basics to recover, because there's things in the beginnings, even though we know a lot of this stuff, what to do, how to source out, outreach, we know what to do it. And Kevin was right. But it's like, and we can take it like either respond to it and mean like, what, you think I'm stupid? No, it means sometimes go back to the basics, go back to the middle of what you're missing. And one of the things I'd like to say about that, and in person, my own point, is like when I started working with Julie, and then when I started listening to you guys, and then when I started listening to Johnny, and started listening to Kevin and Dr. Tachi, and all these people that come into this room offering things that I already knew, but what was I stubborn to not just do and see, or see and do? It's like, okay, sometimes you have to just step back from the forest a little bit to see it even a broader view. Do you have a field view or just a focus view? So I think it's just like, I agree with Kevin. I know Johnny's a very well-informed individual, and I go into his podcast pros room with John Wiley. So no matter what, just learn about, even if someone's telling you something redundant or that you haven't done it, take the moment to learn about your emotion in that moment, to learn about what they're seeing, not to what you're not doing, but it's like it's a critique versus a criticism. And a critique just gives the view. Criticism makes it personal. So take it less personal. That's what I'd recommend.
Good stuff all around. Not the smartest guys in the room. We got one of my friends here, and Tom's going to wrap us up. We got Julie Loken. Julie's traveling too, so maybe Julie can come up. Julie, where you want to weigh in on confidence, on dimming your light, and why don't you tell us about CreateCon if you can?
I love it. And the one thing I'm confident about is packing up 4 boys, 2 dogs, and just hitting the road and going and getting out of there. So we are like family vacation right now on the road. And thanks, Tom. I'm just having so much fun listening. I've been listening to you guys, and amazing stuff. And in the words of Dr. Tachi, I'm signing off on all the stuff you've been talking about.
Julie, who's Chevy Chase in your car?
Probably me.
So you think when she's in the car, like I could be with anybody if I was with my
Clark.
children, they would never be quiet. So are you like, I'll kill you if you guys talk, or are you actually on the road? What are you doing?
We're on the road. We're like crossing the border, the state border. We're on. It's packed up. The dogs are in the back. 4 boys under 18. So you know what that means. And Dad's coming up in the weekend. Girls, no girls, just me and the boys.
Well, we appreciate you stopping for even
It's so super fun. You tell them all about Creative Con. Dom.
Okay, I'm going to tell
You
them
do
about
it.
Creative Con. Okay, here's what we got going on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll tell you about Creative Con. I'm talking to myself here, but since Julie told me to do it, what we're going to try to do is put on a place for creatives, put on an event for creatives in February in Chicago. I'm talking podcasters, video, writers, publishers, storytellers, artists. If you have a story, if you have a message inside of you that you want to get out to the world, magicians, Johnny, if you want to get that story out to the world, if you think it can make an impact, if you want to help it, if you want to work on it so maybe that it can impact two people, that you could use your voice differently, we're going to try to get as many experts in a room for 2 days at an event. It's at the Metropolis in Arlington Heights. Our buddy Tom from Talex Media is going to be there. He's going to be on the stage. We're going to do a Not the Smartest Guys on a big stage. We're going to have breakout rooms with sales experts. Julie's going to be up there talking about how to share your message with the world, how to get exposure, how to get media appearances. And we are going to be looking for more speakers and things like that. We're going to be looking for more people to host break. There's going to be networking. There's going to be VIP stuff. There's going to be after hours stuff. So you'll hear more and more about it, but you'll see even how it's branded. This is what I want to get across. It's not branded Media Casters. It's not branded Talex Media. It's not branded Motivation Champs, because it's about your story. It's about your message. And so it's not like you see some people that have a big event and it's their name is the event. And really it's just all this big shindig to get them more exposure. That's not what this is about. This is about let's you have a story. Let's make sure it makes the impact that you want it to. And so we'll network with a bunch of people. That's Creative Con. You'll hear more about it. Tickets will be on sale soon. Tom, that's all I got.
I just want to say one thing before you pitch to me to close out. I just want to say one thing about Creative Con. And I think the best events are really measured in the opportunity that they create for the people who attend them, right? That it is all about, a great event is all about the people who attend the event, right? All about creating value for those people, and that value leading to bigger and better and exciting opportunities for the people that attend. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to be a part of this with you and Julie and all the other folks that are involved. Obviously you and Julie are spearheading. I'm just happy to be kind of brought in, right? But super excited to be a part of this. Super excited to be there with you guys physically in person. It may likely be the first time that Dom and I actually meet in person. So that'll be
bananas, first of all, that you guys have not met. You're going to be on stage doing this show live. That's incredible.
We should stay away from each other until we not talk to each other the whole 2 days until we
big reveal.
Yes.
The big reveal.
That'd be. I feel like that'd be tough. We'd have to do the live, Not the Smartest Guys thing, early in the program. So because it'd be hard to avoid each other otherwise. But no, I mean, I'm excited to actually meet Dom face to face after all these years of talking on Zoom and being on live streams together. And hosting this space together for all you guys. But I'm super excited to be part of the event because I think everybody involved is really committed to over delivering value for the people that attend and to creating better opportunities for everyone involved, right? That's my commitment. I think that's Dom's commitment. I think that's Julie's commitment. And that's why I'm so excited to be involved, because I really do believe that it's going to be a fantastic event in a great place to develop new, exciting opportunities going forward. And so I can't wait to be a part of it. So I just wanted to throw that in, Dom, before you wrap up and wave bye-bye with your Mr. Potato Head and make me think of something to wrap it up with.
Hey, wasn't that perfect that Julie jumped back in at the end, even from the road trip? And you see,
it's amazing. Tom's going to be our spokesperson for sure.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. We'll just AI him now and What did we say earlier? The bad bitch we were talking about, and so we'll AI Tom add that in there, and it'll be all good, and people will come to Creative Con and meet and network and just have a great time. Okay, so that's all. I told you I'm going to California, so I've had enough. I got a short attention span. We've been on almost 2 hours, so this is the time that Tom needs to step up his game and close this wonderful room out for us. So, Tom, what do you got today?
All right, so I feel like this week is a little challenging because we talked about a lot of stuff. I am not surprised, but and I knew you would bring it up. But we started out talking about me being shirtless. So that was not unexpected, but even talking about it made me a little bit uncomfortable, but that's a good thing. I think pushing your boundaries and pushing your level of comfort, and getting used to being uncomfortable, getting comfortable being uncomfortable is the way I like to say it. I think there's a ton of value in that. And that spurred a great conversation talking about confidence, and how we take confidence from one part of our lives and try to bring it into another part of our lives, and how we reinforce our own self-confidence. So I think it was led to a fantastic conversation. We talked about a bunch of things. Dom just said at the end there that he's not going to be with us next week because he's traveling, and family vacation comes first. So totally understand and accept that, Dom. I wouldn't do things any differently. In fact, I've missed episodes of the show when I'm away traveling with my family as well. So totally appreciate you. Totally appreciate that, and hope you have a great vacation with your family next week. I just confirmed Dr. Tachi is going to be joining me co-hosting the room. So it'll have to be not the smartest people in the room.
Hey, hold on. You got to have a show and tell, though. If I'm not here, I want Dr. Tachi to bring something.
Okay.
All right, I can find something to show. I actually have something that's pretty cool that I can show next week. That's in my office behind me, so I can grab that. That's not a camera. I'm not going to geek out on cameras for you guys, but something that was made and given to me years ago that I treasure very much. So next week, Dr. Tachi is going to be with me here co-hosting. It'll be not the smartest people in the room, So I think the thing I want to say, just wrapping up, is, just a quick reminder: get comfortable being uncomfortable. Push your limits. It was a big lift for me to post that video yesterday, to record that video in the first place, and then to post it on social media, to rip that Band-Aid off and go past the point of no return, was a big deal for me, and I very much appreciate all the feedback I got on that post, which was overwhelmingly, it was all positive. It just goes to show that if you put trust in people, people will often surprise you and return that trust to you. So very much appreciate that. And then the last thing I want to say is don't sleep on the opportunity that is staring us all in the face right now. If you are a business, if you know people that work for big businesses, if you are in marketing or the communication space, right now is the time to be working on creating value-driven content for your audience, because there is going to be, as Johnny pointed out, there's going to be a huge gap in the content available from studios and streamers coming up. There's going to be a multi-year gap, and audiences are going to be looking elsewhere for entertainment, and you have the opportunity to deliver that entertainment for them and reap the benefits of giving them that value, right? So like Dom was saying, give, right? Like I like to say, lead with value, create that value, lead with that value, deliver that value to your audience. And if you're a big enough business and you got the finances to do it, do an end run around the studios, work with SAG-AFTRA, work with the WGA, and create content that the studios are refusing to create right now for your audience. And I promise you, it will pay dividends in the long run. And that's all I got. That's all I got for today. Thank you as always to everybody for being here every week with us. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Dom, for your hosting abilities and for running the room. Dr. Tachi and I will try to do you proud next week. Although I'm sure I will stumble all over trying to keep the room moving and providing feedback to folks. It's not my strong suit, so just bear with me next week. Dom's got I don't even know what size shoe Dom wears, but I'm sure he's got big shoes. So metaphorically or literally, we'll do our best to fill his shoes. In the meantime, everybody have a great rest of your week. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And we will see you guys next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Dr. Tachi and myself will be here for Not the Smartest People in the Room. Until then, take care. Enjoy. Have fun. Be confident. Love you. Bye-bye now.